everyone, Hope King here at Sweet World 18 with the CEO of Sun Moon Foods, Gary Lowe. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, Hope, thank you.
You're visiting us from Singapore.
That's right.
A really far, far away place that is full of wonderful things that you are now part of. Tell our viewers who might not be familiar what Sun Foods is.
Well, Sun Moon Food Company is a company that basically transformed itself from a very asset-heavy company. And when I say asset-heavy, we used to run a farms that is 1,900 hectares of farms, which is equivalent to 1,900 baseball fields.
Wow.
Or 1.2 million trees in it. And we used to have a packing house that's 40,000 metric ton, which is huge, bigger than the convention halls. And we actually had to chop off all that and turn this company into one where we actually use the brand to face the consumer.
Sun Moon Foods, fresh fruits, products that are made from fruit. What is your favorite fruit?
Well, actually berries. Actually,
berries,
it's one of my
and
favorites.
And you sell them too?
Yes, definitely.
And when you say asset heavy, you mean the plantations, some of the factories that were packaging. Why was it important for you to come in and turn it into kind of a service model?
Well, first of all, when we came into the company was just at the brink of bankruptcy. So it's really one of those, not the best deal that I wanted to get in, but I had no choice, so I folded up my sleeves and got into the trench. And primarily what was going on, it was like they wanted to be the one dragon, but you know, dragons don't exist, right? So the cash flow doesn't work. So what we had to do by chopping off the head and face the consumer, we changed that model completely, and that was really one of the problems with companies that were sort of more focused on vertical integrations that doesn't really work. Right, so this is one of those companies.
And how has NetSuite helped you grow as you've transitioned?
Yeah, so moving from an asset heavy to an asset light company now, well, one of the biggest problems is that we couldn't get our AR, AP to actually be consolidated.
Your enterprise resource.
That's right.
Process,
so in the past, and we do have operations around the region, so you don't really see the data live. Now, with One World, NetSuite has actually given us the data in one hand. And it's sort of my analogy is like almost like Star Trek, Captain Kirk, you know, sitting on a dashboard where I can actually see what's going on with the company without running on to the engine room and saying what's going on. So that's really the biggest change in our company right now.
That's fantastic. And the way that you've described your company, you want to be like the Uber or Airbnb of fruit trading, and this kind of idea has really caught on to some of these bigger companies too. In China, you've got Equo, who's actually kind of been your new shareholder now, 51% stake. What's it like working with Chinese tech companies, Chinese firms, because they're really investing heavily all over the world?
Well, Equo is actually one of the companies that is invested by Alibaba, and they actually they are actually the cold chain supplier, logistics supplier for Alibaba platform. So actually having a partner like this actually have us access into the Chinese market. So for Sun Moon, a company like ours, we actually have 22,000 point of sales. Now if you look at the households that we're selling to, we're about 100 million households. We have about 157 suppliers right now. So, and we have about more than 100 products. So working with someone like Equo and getting access into the Chinese market, it's a lot more convenient that we otherwise couldn't have done.
What do Chinese tech companies get right about working with consumers that the rest of the world are still trying to catch up to, right? I mean, Amazon, the habits are different here in the US, obviously, versus Asia.
Well, I think the biggest difference is, I like to use the analogy, when the Chinese do it, like they do delivery, the last mile to at home, and many people ask, why can't they just go to Costco and buy everything? Well, put it into perspective, right? First of all, the household of a Chinese home is smaller than a person's garage, and the fridge is smaller than a person's door. So if you put that in context, then that kind of buying habits don't work. So when you say online delivery and fresh foods delivery, well, it really works in a home where basically everything is kind of far. And then I think that's really the difference between the American way of doing things and the Chinese way of doing things.
And what do you think US tech companies are getting wrong about Asia? Uber has retracted from Southeast Asia, it's sold its business in China.
Well, it's a very good question. You know, for me, when I walk out of this conference room and I was looking at every American holding on to a laptop, and they are just working off from a laptop, but you don't see this in Asia. Every one of us are working out of mobile devices. And I think that's really the tech companies do not focus on the app on the mobile side. They are still very much focused on the web. So I think that's really where the fundamental difference that I think tech companies in the US should really listen to the mobile side of things.
That's so fascinating. I also think there's obviously a cultural, learning curve too. You can't just go into a country and try to figure it out using the way that's worked in different countries, like the US, because there are so many differences. What's next for you guys? What are you looking to do in the future with NetSuite, with some of your new technologies?
Well, we're one of the first Asian company to actually use Suite Commerce Advanced. So we've actually not only just have NetSuite One World, we have now added on top the layer, which is Suite Commerce. We have actually built a B2B as well as a B2C. And of course, having all that layers with the NetSuite One World being the base, we're now looking into the AI, the IoT of things, and of course blockchain.
Yeah.
Right, so all this is basically in the works.
Now I know you've kind of modeled yourself now as kind of the Dole of Asia in terms of the products that you sell. A lot of fears right now of trade wars really affecting the markets. Has it impacted your business or your outlook?
Well, I guess for every difficulties, I think there's always an opportunities, right? And I think that's kind of like where Sun Moon actually plays a part, because there are things that we can now move, like American cherries or Mexican avocados, instead of going up to China. Southeast Asia is actually a very big market, so we actually think that there's actually other opportunities, and for companies like us, we're kind of like situated in the right place at the right time.
Awesome. Gary, it was so nice to speak with you and to meet you. Much continued success to you guys over at Sun Moon Foods. Gary Lowe, the CEO of Sun Moon Foods, back to you guys in New York.